The most successful American battleship of World War II was not the Iowa. It was not the Missouri where Japan surrendered. It was the North Carolina. She was the first fast battleship the U.S. Navy built in 2 decades. And, she was nearly canceled before a single rivet was even laid. Treaty restrictions on battleship tonnage had left the U.S. with a fleet of slow, aging standard-type battleships. By 1937, Japan had walked away from the treaties. The Navy needed a new design, fast. But honestly, Congress was not convinced battleships still mattered. The argument that saved North Carolina was not about guns or armor. It was about speed. The designers made a risky bet. They traded armor thickness for a top speed of 28 knots, nearly 10 knots faster than any existing American battleship. That speed meant North Carolina could keep up with aircraft carriers. And, by 1942, everyone understood that carriers were the new capital ships. But speed came at a cost. The ship's side armor was only 12 inches thick, thin by battleship standards. Some naval officers even called her a tin can. North Carolina was also the first American battleship built with welded, not riveted, hull plates. Welding saved weight, about 800 tons, which allowed for more speed and more fuel. But welders in 1940 were still learning the craft. Early inspections found hairline cracks in critical joints. The Navy almost rejected the ship. Fixing them added 6 months to construction. She finally commissioned in April 1941. By August 1942, she was at the Battle of the Eastern Solomons, the first battleship engagement of the Pacific War. Her job was not to fight other battleships. It was to protect the carrier Enterprise. A Japanese submarine fired 4 torpedoes at Enterprise. North Carolina saw them coming and turned hard, 30 degrees flank speed, placing herself between the torpedoes and the carrier. 2 torpedoes missed. 1 passed under her bow. The 4th struck her port side, forward of the number 1 turret. The explosion tore a 32-foot hole in her hull. Water flooded the forward magazines. Crewmen stood ankle-deep in seawater next to hundreds of tons of gunpowder. The ship's damage control officer made a split-second decision. He counter-flooded compartments on the starboard side to keep the ship from listing. That worked. But it also meant the ship was now down by the bow, plowing through the water instead of riding over it. North Carolina stayed in formation. She continued to screen the carriers. She even shot down 2 Japanese aircraft during the same battle. After the battle, she steamed to Noumea for emergency repairs. The Navy estimated she would need 3 months in dry dock, but the crew did it in just 2 weeks. They worked in shifts, around the clock, using portable pumps and welded patches. Not a single man went ashore. That became the pattern of North Carolina's war. She would take damage, repair herself at sea, and return to the line faster than the enemy expected. By late 1943, the war had changed. Battleships were no longer fleet escorts. They were shore bombardment platforms. North Carolina proved exceptional at this. Her 16-inch guns could drop shells into a 100-yard box from 20 miles away. At Tarawa, she fired 422 high-explosive rounds at Japanese positions. Her spotters reported that she had, quote, obliterated a coastal defense battery that had been holding up the Marine advance. What made North Carolina accurate was not fancy fire control radar, though she had that. It was the crew. Each 16-inch shell weighed as much as a small car. Loading one required 14 men working in perfect sequence. The rammer operator had to feel the shell seat correctly, by touch. A mistake would jam the gun for hours. The crew of Turret 2 went 14 months without a single misfeed. That is a world record, though. Honestly, no one kept official statistics. In December 1944, Admiral Halsey's Third Fleet sailed into Typhoon Cobra. North Carolina took waves over her bridge, 70 feet above the waterline. 3 destroyers capsized and sank. North Carolina rolled 30 degrees, which should have been impossible for a battleship. Her welded hull flexed but did not crack. Her crew lashed themselves to their bunks and rode it out. When the storm passed, she was the only capital ship in the task force still fully operational. At Okinawa, the kamikazes came for her. 1-0 crashed into her port side, just above the armor belt. The bomb exploded outside the hull. Another kamikaze struck her forward superstructure. The fire burned for 2 hours. 10 men died, but the ship never lost power. She continued firing. By the end of the war, North Carolina had earned 15 battle stars. She had shot down at least 24 Japanese aircraft. She had never lost a single carrier she was assigned to protect. After Japan surrendered, the Navy wanted to scrap North Carolina. Fast battleships were expensive to maintain, and the atomic bomb had made them obsolete. But the people of North Carolina raised $330,000 in 6 months, mostly in small donations from school children and veterans, to buy the ship from the Navy. Today, she rests in the Cape Fear River, a floating museum. You can walk her decks, touch her guns, and stand in the turret where those 14 men never misfed a shell. She is the most decorated American battleship of World War II. Not the biggest, not the newest, just the most reliable. The lesson of the North Carolina is simple. A ship is only as good as her crew and her welds. She proved that a well-built, well-manned vessel can outperform more glamorous designs. She proved that speed and survivability are not opposites. And she proved that a battleship's most important weapon is the willingness to take a hit and keep fighting. Subscribe to War Machiner and share this if you value history that goes deeper.